What is up, y'all? OJ back with another video. Today, we're going to be ranking the most racially motivated fighters in the UFC. The factors I'm going to rank these fighters are all based on what these fighters say and also their track records against particular groups of people. Fingers crossed that this video doesn't get flagged or anything, but I'm going to do my best to post this video anyways. I'll have 5 tiers up on the screen for you in a couple of seconds, so without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the video. Starting off with the man running to be the future president of Ireland, Conor McGregor.
Aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit.
This guy went on national television and started berating the Irish government for allowing so many immigrants into the country of Ireland. Clearly, he wants to preserve what is the superior, quote unquote, pure blood Irish, and he doesn't want these dirty, low life immigrants coming into his country, taking all the jobs of the hardworking natives, and in his eyes, fucking up the gene pool. And not only that, this guy clearly hates most races that are not white. He openly hates on black people, Muslims, and Eastern Europeans. No race is safe from the Twitter cooking of the Mr. Mystic Mac. Now, he hasn't really done much of anything since his loss to Dustin Poirier 3 years ago, but the fact that he was able to go to the White House to talk about preserving the Irish culture cannot be topped by any other UFC fighter. So, for that, he is 100% a eugenics enthusiast. Moving on to the next fighter, we have Israel Adesanya. I'm going to say that this guy is certainly racially motivated.
Who the fuck is this cracker to tell me who the fuck I am, who the fuck Kamaru is, who the fuck Ngannou is? I'm like, are you dumb? As a product of colonization, you're trying to tell me who the fuck I am. You can take the boy out of Africa, but you can never take the Africa out the boy.
Now, the reason he isn't that much higher up on the list is because he has lost a lot of fights to the people he despises the most, which is white people. Got choked out by Dracus Duplessis, and before that got dog walked by Sean Strickland. But make no mistake, Adesanya does not keep it a secret that he despises the white people, specifically the descendants of European colonizers. Like, he clearly despises DDP for being a white African, whereas Sean Strickland, I believe, has to do with the fact that he brought up uh, Izzy's dog at the UFC 293 press conference. Izzy looked very aggressive and sharp out there against DDP, which is rare for an Adesanya fight. Normally, you will see Adesanya just leg kick at range for 5 straight rounds, but against Dracus, he really brought the fight to Dracus and actually threw a lot of punches in order to hurt DDP. Now, if Adesanya had actually won that fight, he would have been classified as a certified xenophobe, but he didn't. However, the fact that Adesanya really decided to bring the fight to the only white African that has ever fought in the UFC does prove that Adesanya has some sort of racial motivation inside of him. It just hasn't worked out for too well for this guy, so he's going to be stuck in the racially motivated tier for now. Moving on, we have Drew Dober. This guy is a classic OG of the certified xenophobe tier.
Thoughts on injuries, especially Negroes? I don't know. Thoughts on injuries? My opinions are like they suck. They're not good.
Anyone who has watched UFC fights for quite some time know the comically vast difference between Drew Dober fighting black people and Drew Dober fighting anyone else. For some reason, when Drew Dober fights black people, he manages to knock them out eventually. It happened to Terrence McKinney when McKinney was on a hell of a run, and then he beat the shit out of Bobby Green in the later rounds when Bobby Green was in his prime. And then he also beat up on Rafael Alves so badly that Alves decided to switch over to karate combat. When he fights people from any other race, however, he does not find the same level of success as when he fights black people. He recently got knocked out by Matt Favola. He got submitted by Islam Makhachev, and he went to a close war with Renato Moicano, but still took a lot of damage. Oh, and this isn't even me mentioning the fight with Gian Silva. What I think is funny, however, is that he never really said anything overtly racist, but I would not be surprised if he secretly is. I think Dober knows about the racially motivated memes because he seems to be playing into that character from time to time. Like when he was reading out loud the Negro's message. Maybe he genuinely thought that was an actual type of knee injury, but either way, he is a certified xenophobe with a sense of humor behind him. Moving on to the next fighter, we have Colby Covington. He is just an absolute annoying Karen. Like, I don't even know if this guy actually hates black people because if your whole personality is supporting Donald Trump and MAGA, then I don't know how every black fighter you go up against can just beat your ass up and you can still live with yourself as a MAGA supporter. Got the shit beat out of him by Joaquin Buckley, got schooled by Leon Edwards, and Kamaru Usman broke his jaw. Now, maybe Covington might not be acting when it comes to his disdain towards black people, but it certainly isn't effective for his career as a UFC fighter because he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights, all of those losses coming to black people. And especially now, Covington is an annoying little fucker, just let's just call it what it is. I don't see Covington as a legitimate fighter in 2025. I just look at his fight with Joaquin Buckley. He looked like he never even trained for the fight in the first place. Covington at this point is not a fighter. He is an annoying little cunt that only spews MAGA shit because he thinks he can build a fan base off these MAGA supporters, which is why he is nothing more than an annoying Karen. Moving on to Renato Moicano. This guy is pretty base. Now, whether or not this translates to him being a racist is one thing, but he seems to hold some opinions that guys like Conor McGregor hold when it comes to immigration control. Not specifically in the same country, but this guy seems to be on board with the fact that there needs to be some laws set in place when it comes to immigration policies. And personally, I think that is based regardless of how you guys feel, because there is a lot of influx of illegal immigrants, and overall, there needs to be some sort of boundary when it comes to dealing with these immigrants. And in terms of fighting, I don't really see him performing well against one particular race, but it's more of the vibe that Hanato Moicano gives me because he's unironically an avid right wing supporter. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he was secretly racist against one particular group of people. Moving on, we have Bryce Mitchell.
I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with.
He is an avid Big H supporter, not exactly the biggest fan of the Jewish people, or the Japanese, or the Brazilians, or the homosexuals. If you even mention anything that is in support of the following groups of people that I mentioned above, you know you're going to hear it from Bryce Mitchell about how you've been indoctrinated into believing what the evil government runs runs schools have taught us over the last 20 something years. According to this guy, the Holocaust has never happened and the current education system is making people secretly gay. He's got some very interesting takes, and I'm surprised that he is still on the roster right now. And I'm going to move on to the next fighter before this video gets taken down. Moving on to the next fighter, we have Charles Johnson, certified xenophobe against people like myself. Now, I don't have him on here because I don't remember him saying anything overtly racist, and even if he did, I don't care that much unless it's funny. The reason I put this guy up here is the fact that he has an extremely good track record only against Asians. Charles Johnson usually makes it close, and he doesn't show that much aggression against anyone else. But against Asians specifically, Johnson is a completely different fighter. He usually either knocks Asian fighters out in the later rounds or gets really close to knocking them out during the fight. He beat Zalgas Zumagulov. He then fraud checked Azat Maxim. Then he KO'd my Pookie Bear Joshua Van, and then he almost knocked out Sumadarji. I think he's overall 4-1 against Asians in the UFC, with his only loss coming to Ramazan Tamirov. And let's be honest, if that fight were to be a 5 rounder, I would have picked Carl Johnson to knock out Tamirov in the later rounds. This guy has the style to beat Tatsuro Taira, and while I would still pick Taira to win, I wouldn't be too surprised if Johnson were to win that matchup because of the way Johnson fights, and also because Tatsuro Taira is Asian. Moving on to my welterweight GOAT, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov. This guy is also another certified xenophobe. I'm not saying that Rachmanov is racist towards black people, but I'm pointing out to the comically vast difference between him fighting black people and him fighting anyone else. Shavkat has a 4-0 record against black people, and it's also the way he fights them, which is very funny. Against black people, this guy will throw some wild shit like wheel kicks and Superman punches. And in the clinch, he will ragdoll you with a standing rear naked choke or just beat your body up with vicious knees to the liver. It's funny because I don't see the same level of aggression against anyone else. Against Stephen Thompson and Ian Gary, he was not showing the technical clinch where he would normally put on to guys like Jeff Neal and Neil Magny. And yes, it's probably because Thompson and Gary are much better than Jeff Neal and Neil Magny, but the fact that Shafkat shows more aggression only to black people, it's very questionable, but I know I can't technically say more, otherwise I'll probably get this video taken down. Moving on to Leon Edwards, I will say that this guy is certainly racially motivated against the Middle Eastern Muslims.
What are you? Are you Arab?
No,
What are you?
I'm American.
Now, he hasn't really fought anyone Middle Eastern Muslim outside of Bilal Muhammad, but you could just see the vastly different approach Edwards has between fighting a Middle Eastern Muslim versus anyone else. Against anyone else, this resorts to 10 leg kicks around and occasionally throwing the hands from Leon Edwards. But against Bilal Muhammad, this guy really threw a lot more aggression against him than usual. Maybe it's because he just hates Bilal Muhammad, but for some reason, he really did not want to lose to Bilal Muhammad. And in the fifth round of the last, like, I guess 30 seconds, he was butchering Bilal Muhammad. I know Bilal Muhammad had control over his back for a majority of the round, but those last 30 seconds really swayed me because, again, it was a very nasty cut he gave Bilal Muhammad, and there was a lot more damaging than any of Bilal's shots throughout the entire fight. I'm just gonna say he's racially motivated, but unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for his career. Up next, we have Tatsuro Taira. I'm going to say that Taira is a certified xenophobe against the Hispanics. Since joining the UFC in 2022, this guy has only fought Hispanic people, and he's 6-1 against them. He ragdolled Carlos Candelario. He then armbarred CJ Vergara. He then triangle armbarred Jesus Aguilar. He went to a close decision with Edgar Shiras, knocked out Carlos Hernandez with the left hook, and then finally snapped Alex Perez's knee with a freakish trip. Donald Trump needs to hire this guy as head of border security ASAP. He did fail to beat Brandon Royval, but that's because Royval is a third generation US citizen. If Moreno becomes champion again, or if Royval becomes a champion and the UFC books a rematch between Royval and Taira, I will pick Tatsuro Taira, especially now that he's coming off a very nasty loss to a Hispanic. But sooner or later, he will be on Fox News justifying the tariffs placed on Mexico as well as the stricter immigration policies. And there ain't nothing you could do about it because he will most likely twist any illegal immigrant from the south border up like a pretzel. Up next, we have Kamaru Usman. I'm going to say that he is certainly racially motivated against a particular group of white people.
Just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China. That doesn't make me more Chinese. And so just because you went over to South Africa and you're raised there, that doesn't make you African.
Now, would Usman even dare to fight DDP or let alone anyone at the top of the welterweight or middleweight division? Probably not, because this juicehead would rather go yap on about how he would beat anybody in the current welterweight rankings, or how he just nonstop yaps on the analyst desks about absolute bullshit. But let it be known that this guy genuinely despises white people from Africa like DDP. It's a very similar case to Israel Adesanya. Unfortunately for both of these guys, the racial motivation has not really pissed him off all that well. Maybe if either of these guys would have actually won a fight over the last 2 years, then I could probably move them up to the tier list, but unfortunately, they haven't, so I can't say that the racial motivation really worked out for them. Up next, we have Sean Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. I don't think Sean Strickland is an overt racist. It honestly feels like what he says or does is all for his white right wing brand. It feels very similar to what Colby Covington does, only slightly less cringy. It's still cringe at times, but at least Strickland actually wins most of his fights, so I don't really mind it nearly as much. That being said, Strickland is slowly becoming an annoying Karen, like when he just randomly go off about Muslims on Twitter for no reason. And other than that, he typically says the stereotypical redneck shit, like fuck the Chinese and fuck the illegal immigrants. But I'm not gonna lie, at this point, it feels as if the only reason he says those things is because of his strong affiliation with Donald Trump. But maybe he believes in what he actually says, and he is a certified xenophobe deep inside. Alright, that's where I'm gonna end this video today. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed any fighters that may have displayed bias against a certain race of people. But other than that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.